Hey everyone, this is Matt from endsickness.org. Today I'm going to talk about how you let fear be your teacher and guide you to dealing with the inner conversation, overcoming it once for all. First, let me say I'm not a medical doctor. It's not medical advice. It's based on my personal experiences for informational and educational purposes only. So how do you let fear be your teacher back to a resolution to inner conflict? Well, first thing you do is you use the fear as a tool, okay? You observe the fear. Take a step back and observe the fear. By observing the fear and pausing to observe the fear, you disconnect yourself from the thought loop, the automatic response to this fear, to this observation of thing. And you can take a step back for a second. This is critical to be able to get control of the fear. Once you take a step back, the next thing is you want to get curious about the fear, okay? It's not really just about simply, fearing this thing and being critical of it. It's about being curious about it. Why do I fear this thing? What's the storyline behind it? Where did this fear originally come from? So the next part I want to talk about is you have to investigate the background of this fear. Where did it come from? Where's the origin? Trace it back to its origin. Identify where this all started in the first place. And you say, hey, why do I have this fear? Where did it all start? Well, it started back in childhood. It started back because of something that happened at work, whatever. And you start to realize that that thing isn't happening right now. It's not happening right now, so it's not relevant, right? So if you trace it back to the origin, you're able to see why you're fearful in this moment. You're able to go ahead and remove some of the fear about this current situation. The next thing you want to do is, since you've traced it back to its origin, guess what you do next? You rewire your perception about the fear, okay? And then by doing that, it allows you to have observations in the future that remind you of this thing that you're fearing or this situation and not be so triggered by it, right? So fear can be your teacher, okay? But the last part that's most important is you got to act. Once you have these fears, you go through the process, you recognize where it's coming from, you go ahead and say, hey, that's from the past, you rewire your belief about it, then you got to act. You can't just say, okay, but I'm not going to do the thing I'm fearing. You got to act, because if you act, then the fear will be removed. You'll be able to go ahead and overcome that fear. So you got to let fear become your teacher, because the reason is fear is going to show you where your insufficiencies are. They're going to show you where the inner conflict is, where your belief systems are messed up, where you are thinking counterproductive things that are not going to lead you to what you actually want. And if you are afraid of fear, you're afraid of anxiety, you're afraid of these thoughts, then they're always going to chase you, okay? But if you face them head on, all right, and say, hey, what are these things that I'm fearing? Why am I fearing these? Is this because of past situation? Is this past situation guaranteed to happen again in the future? Oh, it's not. Okay, well, let me go ahead and take action on this thing towards the fear. Let me go ahead and overcome this thing, because these fears are the things that are holding you back in your life. If you could overcome the fears and let them be your teacher and overcome them and beat these conversations in your own mind, then guess what happens? Your life becomes free. When you're free of fear, you have freedom, you have happiness, you have a lack of concern about the future. You're in the present moment. You're actually living in the present moment. And this is the beauty that comes from fear. Fear can allow you to become free if you run towards your fears and address them rather than run away from them, right? And a lot of these fears are tied to emotions that are hard to address. But the reality is you have to accept some of these emotions. You have to accept the things that happened in the past. You can't fight them and think about the things that you would have changed to make them different. This is not going to help you get over the fears. If you have a fear of addressing a certain emotion, you got to realize that this emotion, the hard part about this emotion is just accepting the thing that happened and allowing yourself to accept that and move on past it. This is critical if you want to be able to overcome these emotions that are preventing you from overcoming your fears. So let fear be your teacher. Don't run from it, run towards it, because these are the things. These fears are showing you where your insufficiencies are. They're showing you what you need to work on in your own mind. And if you work on these things, you eliminate these things, you change the storyline, you change your perception around these things, you'll be free. And it will all be because of fear. And fear can be your greatest teacher. Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to my page, endsickness.org. I got hundreds of articles, hundreds of videos on there, and hope to see you again soon.